Hello, boys and girls, and those who bounce in between. It's Comrade Denki here. There is a hidden suffering in this country, and it is a suffering imparted on the most vulnerable people, those who technically don't exist, those who don't have papers, they don't have documentation, they don't have an official record or a social security number. But nevertheless, they are human beings, and they are just as deserving of life as any other human beings, especially a 7-year-old girl. So this is an article from the Daily Beast published the 13th of June 2019 by Julia Arcega, a reporter. It says, CBP, body of a 7-year-old girl from India found in Arizona desert. This is just a tragic story, folks. Border Patrol agents found the remains of what is believed to be a 7-year-old girl from India in the Arizona desert on Wednesday morning, according to Customs and Border Protection statement. The girl was said to be traveling with a group of migrants who were dropped off by smugglers and told to cross into the U.S. into a dangerous and austere location. Tucson Sector Border Patrol agents found 2 adult women from India believed to have been part of that group, and they said that they made their journey with 3 others, a woman and 2 children, but were separated from them. Hours later, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and Border Patrol agents found the girl's remains 17 miles west of Lukeville and discovered the footprints of the woman and the other child leading back to Mexico. Shit, man. So they fucking turned around. Damn. And I guess their investigation ends at the border, so there's no way to fucking follow up and make sure that the lady and her other child made it back. Oh my god. Could you imagine just how hot it is out there? Oh my god. There's no water. While CBP agents are reportedly searching the area for more potential group members, none have been located on either side of the southern border. The agency also said the high temperature in the area on Wednesday was about 108. 108 degrees. Holy shit, dude. I mean, you could be a trained soldier. You could be somebody who is a marathon runner. You can't survive long in direct sunlight at 108 degrees, especially a child. That's a death sentence. That's a death sentence for anybody. It's a humanitarian crisis. I mean, we have to set up water reservoirs out there. We have to drill wells or something for these people, uh, so that this doesn't happen. I mean, this can't happen. This can't happen anymore, guys. This is disgusting. 7-year-old girl is dead. Our sympathies are with this little girl and her family, Tucson Chief Patrol Agent Roy Villarreal wrote in a statement. This is a senseless death driven by cartels who are profiting from putting lives at risk. Okay, the cartels, that's one thing. They're a symptom of the problem. The problem is the drug war. And who perpetuates the drug war? The United States. So ultimately, this is a consequence of the United States government's policies, both on drugs and on immigration in general. You can place the primary blame on the cartels, I guess, but the creation of the cartels themselves are the result of the United States' policy on drugs. So, that is a horrible story, but there are some people who are heroes, like this gentleman. This is Scott Warren. a Volunteer for No More Deaths, a nonprofit group that provides humanitarian aid to migrants crossing the Arizona desert. So this guy, this is an article from the New York Times by Miriam Jordan, June 11th, 2019, in Tucson. For 15 years, volunteers have trekked into the Arizona desert to place jugs of water, canned beans, and blankets in spots where migrants traverse the most treacherous reaches of the borderlands. When those provisions have been unable to help, the volunteers have searched for migrants who are missing and for the remains of those who have died. Increasingly, these kinds of efforts have landed people in jail. In 2017, a summer that saw a brutal heat wave, several volunteers with the group No More Deaths were arrested on federal misdemeanor charges for placing water in a federally protected wilderness area. The stakes were raised significantly in 2018 when Border Patrol agents set up surveillance near one of the humanitarian bases and filed 3 felony charges against Scott Warren, a 36-year-old geography teacher who helped a pair of migrants from Central America who had arrived there hungry, dehydrated, and with blistered feet. Well, as a fellow earth science student, as a fellow earth science scholar, I commend Scott Warren on his efforts, obviously studying the geography of Arizona and that area in general. He knows the dire conditions that those people face, and he's doing a hell of a lot more than anybody in our government is trying to save their lives. Mr. Warren's case resulted in a mistrial Tuesday after jurors said for a second day that they were unable to reach a verdict. Well, that's good. And that's why it's good to have jurors from a diverse background. I'm sure there were some that were conscious and compassionate of the fact that Scott Warren was really trying to do the right thing and save lives. And the law is not always right, people. I mean, you heard it here first, folks. I'm not going to break any laws, especially not on this channel, but I'm just saying here, the law is not always right. And if the law forbids you from trying to save human lives, well then fuck that. And if I was in Mr. Warren's shoes, I would do the exact same fucking thing. This guy's a hero. He's a hero, and he's being attacked for it, ladies and gentlemen. A trial had been drawn worldwide attention and spurred 30 vigils across the United States, a reflection of the fraught debate over immigration issues since President Trump made border security a central issue of his administration. Key to the case was Mr. Warren's intent. Was he wholly motivated by a humanitarian purpose when he gave food, water, shelter, and clean clothes to 2 men from Central America, or was he illegally concealing the men when he allowed them to remain at the volunteer group's camp? It's who cares? He saved their lives, you assholes. Jurors had announced on Monday that they were deadlocked, but they resumed deliberations on Tuesday after a judge ordered them to try again, one sign of the difficult questions raised by the case. Scott Warren remains innocent both as a legal matter and as a factual matter because the jury could not unanimously conclude otherwise, the lead defense lawyer, Gregory Kuykendall, said after the jury was dismissed. The government was put on its best case with the full force of countless resources, and 12 jurors could not agree with that case. Mr. Warren read a brief statement. He said, "In the time since I was arrested in January 2018, no fewer than 88 bodies were recovered from the Arizona desert," he said. One of them including this poor 7-year-old girl from India. Policies to target undocumented people, refugees, and their families, prosecutions to criminalize humanitarian aid, kindness, and solidarity. Prosecutors made no comment after the jury was dismissed. Yeah, fuck you guys, you fucking assholes. You're gonna try to get somebody put in jail because he saved some people's lives? What an asshole. From the beginning, defense lawyers contended the case was part of the government's escalating security strategy on the southwest border. Quote, threatening humanitarians with felonies and prison time for helping immigrants survive in the desert is part of Trump's strategy to deter immigration. This is the case of that, Mr. Kuykendall said in an interview. So, I mean, he's arguing, and I think rightly so, that Trump's fucking immigration policy includes this kind of thing as a deterrent. Oh, you don't want to come into America and live and work? Well, then I'm going to let you die out in the desert like a damn pig. You're just going to die in the desert like a pig. You're going to sweat and you're going to starve and you're going to die of dehydration. Tremendous, stupendous. It's the greatest. What an idiot. What a fascist fuck. What a inhuman just... I can't even comprehend just the brutality of somebody like that. Condemning people who haven't necessarily even done anything wrong. Like the 7-year-old girl. What did she do to deserve that? Trump? You fucking asshole. But federal prosecutors said the real issue was whether Mr. Warren went much farther than helping save the men's lives. This case is not about humanitarian aid or anyone in medical distress. Oh, I'm sure it's not. It's just all about trying to jail the guy who is providing humanitarian aid and medical attention. But it's not about it's not it's not about that. It's just about jailing the person who does that. What the fuck kind of weird alternate reality do you live in, Nathaniel Walters, one of the prosecutors? The issues the jury was asked to decide, he told the court, was whether Mr. Warren attempted to shield two undocumented immigrants from law enforcement for several days. You know why they would shield them? Because they would just tell them to get the fuck back to Mexico and deport them. They get killed. They were probably wanted men by the cartels or something. Stupid asses. Have some compassion. Take a note from Mr. Warren's book. It says Mr. Warren was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to transport undocumented immigrants, which carries a 10-year sentence, and 2 counts of harboring him. His trial, which began May 29th, was widely seen as a test of legal limits for providing humanitarian aid to migrants who are otherwise subject to arrest. United Nations human rights officials calls for charges in the case to be dropped, noting that Arizona has some of the border's deadliest migrant corridors, accounting for over a third of more than 7,000 border deaths recorded in the last 2 decades. Temperatures in the Sonoran Desert can reach 120 degrees in summer, fall below freezing in winter. Alright, 120 degrees. Can you imagine just the suffering of those poor folks dying out there? That's horrible. You know, I would much prefer to freeze, but to just essentially roast in 120 degree heat, direct sunlight in the Sonoran Desert. That's a horrible death that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Humanitarian aid is not a crime, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights said in a statement. Mr. Warren was indicted after Trump's first Attorney General Jeff Sessions directed federal prosecutors to prioritize cases involving the harboring of undocumented immigrants. In the past, the anti-harboring law had been used mainly against smugglers who transport migrants for profit and occasionally against employers who knowingly recruit undocumented workers. The trial of Mr. Warren was marked with protest outside the courthouse, and others showed support for him and his group. Faith leaders, health workers, educators, community members filled the courtroom. About 125,000 people signed an online petition demanding the case be dismissed. Mr. Warren's defense lawyer said that their client was targeted by the Justice Department because No More Deaths had distributed a video showing Border Patrol agents destroying jugs of water that the group had placed in the desert. So, in part two, we are going to finish up with the rest of this article, and we are going to see this video of these disgusting pigs condemning people to a horrible death, destroying jugs of water out in the desert. So, stay tuned for part two.